Hi, I'm Stu from HiveMind Automation and welcome to the Hive. In this video, we're going to be revisiting 10 beginner automations. In my previous video, 10 Home Assistant automations for beginners, we took a look at 10 automations to get you started on your home automation journey. With some recent changes in Home Assistant, the way to set most of those up has changed significantly. So we're going to revisit some of those, but we're also going to take a look at some new ones. So while I roll the intro, take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified when I release new videos each week. And let's get started. In at number 10, let's take a look at a much easier way to set up a motion sensor light automation. And to do this, we're going to use the included blueprint motion activated light. To do this, we're going to go to configuration and blueprints, and we should have motion activated light in here. This is here by default, even if you haven't imported any blueprints at all. So we're going to click on create automation. We're going to change this to water closet light motion, and using the motion activated light blueprint, the motion sensor I'm going to use is water closet motion. And for the light, we're going to click pick entity, and just for now, I'm going to select the garage light. Even though we're using the water closet motion sensor. And the time to leave the light on after last motion is detected. So what I might do here is I'll just change this up to, let's make it 300 seconds. So I'll just type in 300 seconds. That gives us 5 minutes after the last motion is detected that the light will stay on. After that, it's going to turn the light off. So we no longer need a separate automation to turn the light off. I'll hit save and we are good to go. That automation is now there. At number 9, we're going to set up a sunrise alarm clock using a time helper and the transition parameter of a smart light bulb. And we might even use an input number variable for the transition period. Now, it's worth being aware that not all smart bulbs recognize and support the transition parameter. IKEA trad-free and some Tasmatized and standard 2-year bulbs have been the most troublesome in my testing in the past, and you can check out my 4-way smart bulb comparison to see what that looks like. The first thing we need for this is a time helper. So I'm going to go to configuration and I'm going to go to helpers and I'm going to add a helper and I'm going to select a date and or time helper and I'm going to call this alarm clock. And we'll use has alarm as our icon, and that looks like an alarm clock, which is fantastic. What do you want to input? We're going to select time, and I'm going to create that. I'm also going to create a number helper, so I'm going to add number. We'll call this sunrise transition, and we'll just leave the icon. And the minimum value I will put is, let's make that 300, so over 5 minutes, and the maximum value, let's make that 3600, which will be 1 hour, and we'll leave that as a slider display. Step size, let's make it 60 seconds is the step size, and our unit of measurement is seconds. Create that. So we've got our sunrise transition and we've got our alarm clock input helpers. So if I go back to overview and I look for sunrise, we've got that there, and we've also got alarm, our alarm clock. So if I, first of all, I'll set that to 6:30 and we'll leave that there. So now we have that set to 6:30, and our sunrise transition, let's set that to 900, so that's going to be about 15 minutes. Head over to configuration and we'll go to automations, and now that we've got those helpers set up, we will set up our automation. So I'm going to click add automation and I'm going to start with an empty automation. I'm going to call this sunrise alarm clock, and we're going to use our trigger as time and value of a date or time helper, and we'll use our drop down and use our alarm clock date time helper. So now at 6:30, this is going to trigger. Now we'll leave conditions alone for now. I don't think we need that. What we will do is our action, we will call a service, and in this case I want the bedroom light to come on. So I'm going to call light.turn-on, and we're going to use a transition parameter. I should probably pick an entity, so I'm going to choose our master bedroom ceiling light. So we've selected our ceiling light. I want a transition, and I'm going to set that to, I'll just leave that at 253 for now. A color temperature at 6500, a brightness at 100%. And I'm going to click on the three-dot stack and edit in YAML. Now, what I need to do is change our transition value here. And so now in the YAML editor, I want to change this transition. I want to use a template, and I want to use the input number from sunrise transition cast as an integer. So if you haven't checked out my variables in automations video yet, do check that out, because we dig deeper into using these input number variables. I'm going to click save on that, and now what will happen at 6:30, so our alarm clock date, we're going to have the light turn on, the master bedroom ceiling light turn on at 6500 Kelvin at a 100% brightness over the period of whatever we've got set in our sunrise transition. And so we can change that. We go to our sunrise transition here, we can change that. So if we want to wake up over an hour, the light will gradually get brighter over an hour. If we change that to 300 seconds, it will gradually get brighter over 5 minutes. If we don't want to get up at 6:30, we want to get up at 7:30 one day, we can change that there as well. So that's setting up a sunrise alarm clock. In at number 8, let's revisit turning on our exhaust fan at a humidity threshold and then off at another humidity threshold. And this time I'm going to take a look at a blueprint. So to find the blueprint, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to configuration, and I'm going to go to blueprints, and I'm going to click on discover more blueprints. And this is going to take us to the Home Assistant Blueprints Exchange. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for, I'm just going to search for threshold. And I found this automation before, switch a fan based on absolute humidity difference between two humidity or temp sensors. So I'm going to click on that one, and there's two ways for me to import this. I can use the My Home Assistant button here to import the blueprint, or I can copy this URL here, pop back over to Home Assistant, click Import Blueprint, and paste the URL of the blueprint. So I'll do that, preview blueprint, and import blueprint. So that is bringing it in, and we've got humidity management based on absolute humidity. So I'm going to click Create Automation. So now that we clicked Create Automation, I want to select our humidity sensor, and I want to find the ensuite humidity. There you are. The temperature sensor. So again, I can use the ensuite temperature. They're actually combined in the same sensor module. Now the reference humidity sensor. Now because what's going to happen, this humidity sensor is going to change based on the difference between a baseline reference humidity sensor and the humidity sensor that we're using as a switch. So for our reference humidity sensor, in this case, I'm going to use the dining room humidity sensor and the dining room temperature sensor. And our fan switch, I'm going to use the ensuite fan. And so how many grams per cubic meter above the reference humidity the sensor can rise before the fan is turned on? 1.1 sounds good. And how many grams per cubic meter above the reference humidity sensor must fall to before the fan is turned off? 0.9. Sure, those default settings sound great to me. Obviously you can tune those once you have this set up. So I'll hit save. So now our ensuite fan will turn on if the threshold rises above this value here. In at number 7, let's push an alert to our phone when the washing machine finishes its cycle. Now to do that, I'm going to use an energy monitoring smart plug on the washing machine, which is already there. And if you haven't taken a look at my TP-Link HS110 video, I'll put the link in the description down below. Now I've monitored a couple of washing cycles to get an idea of roughly what to expect. And I know that when the consumption drops down to anything less than about 1 watt, there's a pretty good chance that that means the cycle is done. So that's going to be my trigger point. You might want to monitor your washer for more than one cycle to find that sweet spot. And it's possible that you might want to tune that setting as you go. So it could also be a great opportunity for a variable, but let's not overcomplicate that right now. So let's create a new automation and we'll start with an empty automation. I'm going to call this notify when washing machine finishes. The trigger is going to be our numeric state of entity, and I want washing machine. The attribute that I'm looking for is current power. So when this current power in watts attribute drops below, I'm going to put this threshold at 5 watts. We'll leave the value template in the 4. We shouldn't need any of those. So with this, when the washing machine switch current power drops below 5 watts, that is our trigger. So for our actions, we are going to call a service and we're going to call notify. And I want to notify the mobile app iPad. You would obviously notify your phone. We'll put a title. We'll call this washing is finished, empty the machine in the body, and we can add extra data or things like that. We don't really need to in this case. I will click save. And so now when the washing machine finishes its cycle, as in the power consumption on that drops below 5 watts, we should receive a notification on our iPad. If I click run actions, I've received a notification on the iPad, which is currently being used as my teleprompter. So that is setting up a washing machine notification. Up next, let's take a look at another blueprint. I'm going to set up a garbage reminder to let us know when we need to take the bins out. Now for this, you're going to need an integration that knows when your garbage collection days are. I use one from Hacks called Garbage Collection, but there are others out there, and some local councils even offer an API with the data available through that API. If you want to use the Hacks add-in that I use, this is how we go to set it up. So we go to Hacks and we'll go to Integrations, and I'm going to go all the way down. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm going to click on Explore and Add Repositories. I'm going to search for garbage. So we'll add garbage collection and click install this repository in Hacks, install, and we'll go back to Hacks. Now we are going to need to restart. Before we do that, I'm going to update some other things in here because I have some updates available. So we'll update those, we'll restart Home Assistant, and when we come back, we will set up the garbage reminder integration. Okay, so Home Assistant is most of the way back up now. We can go to configuration and then we can go to integrations. We can add an integration, and I'm going to search for garbage and I'm going to select garbage collection here. I'm going to put a friendly name for rubbish bin and I'm going to leave that as weekly. So I'm going to leave all of these defaults. I'm going to hit submit and we're going to select the garbage collection days, and my bin gets collected Thursday mornings and we put it out Wednesday night. So we will hit submit on that. So now we can add some additional parameters. We're not going to worry too much about any of these because we don't tend to have any modifications to our garbage collection schedule. We'll just hit submit and we can assign garbage collection to an area. I will put it on the front porch because why not? And we'll hit finish. So now we have our rubbish bin garbage collection. Now, if we wanted to, we could also add another reminder. So garbage collection, and we can call this one recycling. And this one frequency, we'll call this even weeks. I think it might actually be odd weeks. And we can hit submit. And again, this one is on Thursday. We'll hit submit and we'll hit submit again. And we'll put this on the front porch again as well. So now we've got our recycling and we've got our rubbish. And again, so if I went to garbage collection and let's do one more, we'll go green waste. And again, we'll put that as odd weeks and we'll hit submit. And again, on Thursday, submit, submit. And front porch and finish. So now we have this data coming into our Home Assistant instance, and if we take a look at our calendar, we should see green waste and rubbish and recycling and rubbish and green waste and rubbish, so every Thursday morning. So now that that's set up, what we want to do is set up some reminders, and I'm going to take a look at blueprints for this one to make it a little bit easier. I have done this manually in the past, but I think that a blueprint is the way to go. So again, I'm going to go to configuration, I'm going to go to blueprints, I'm going to go to discover more blueprints, and we will search, and I'm going to search for garbage. And we've got a garbage reminder. So I will hit that, and we will grab the URL, import the blueprint, paste it there, preview, import, and we've got garbage reminder. So I'll hit create automation. Reminder time, what time the day before do you want to be reminded? So let's put that at 7 p.m. and the day offset, amount of days to be added to the triggers date to check for sensor value matches. 1 to be notified the day before, or 0 for a notification on the garbage collection day. I want to be notified the day before at 7 p.m, so I'm leaving that at 1. We'll leave our date format as is. We'll leave our reminder title as garbage reminder, our reminder message. The garbage will be picked up tomorrow. Great. We'll use notify.notify, and we will select some garbage sensors. So we're going to select, we'll start with rubbish bin. We'll put recycling, and we will put green waste. So we've actually got all three are going to be inside the notification when we do this. So we'll hit save here. And now what I might do is run the actions. And I've just received an iPad notification that says the following garbage will be picked up tomorrow. There's no data in it because there's no garbage being picked up tomorrow. So now that we've got that, we can send notifications to all of our devices, and we will receive those to tell us when the garbage needs to go out. So another blueprint for number 6, we're going to click discover more blueprints, and this time I want to get an idea of when my Home Assistant restarts. So I will go restart, I'll search for restart, and I want a Home Assistant restart notification. Is that the one I want? That will do. I'm going to copy this gist, and I'm going to pop back over here, import the blueprint, paste the URL, click preview, and we've got the option to import that. So now I will go Home Assistant restart notification, create the automation, notification title, notification message. Great. That's all fine. Device to notify, I'm going to go with iPad, and we'll hit save. So now if Home Assistant restarts, we'll get a notification on the iPad. In at number 5, I'm going to revisit turning lights on at sunset. And you guessed it, we're going to use another blueprint. So we'll go back to blueprints. We will discover more blueprints, and we'll search for sunset, and we have activating lights at sunset. We'll just click on that link, we'll copy the URL, and we will import the blueprint, paste the URL, preview the blueprint, import the blueprint, and we have lights on at sunset. We'll create the automation, which lights are we going to use, what brightness, and we can also set an elevation shift, which is interesting. So I'm going to start by picking an entity. Let's go with porch light. At sunset, the porch light's going to come on. I want it to come on, let's go for 75%. The elevation shift, so the height of the sun relative to the horizon. You can move this automation either earlier or later. So a negative value will delay the start time to being after sunset. So that's going to change this to, I think, around about an hour. I could be wrong. Or if I move this forward to number 1, that's going to start turning the lights on at what we call golden hour, so around about an hour or so before sunset, where the light's quite golden. I'll just leave that at 0 so it comes on at sunset, and we'll click save. For number 4, I want to get a text-to-speech alert from my Amazon Echoes if the garage door is open for too long. If you've not seen my text-to-speech from Amazon Echo video, check out that video after this one, and there'll be a link in the video description down below. So for this one, I'm using my production instance of Home Assistant. I'm going to go to Add Automation, start with Empty Automation, alert if garage door open for 30 minutes. So our trigger is going to be state. Our entity is going to be garage door sensor, and 2 open for 00:30 00, so that's just the 30 minutes. And I'm going to choose our actions. Our action type is call servicing notify.alexa media, and the message is the garage door is open. Our target, we're going to add these 3 in here, the dining room Echo Plus, the office Echo Dot, and the bedroom Echo Dot. Our data, I'm going to put in type announce, and I'm going to save that. Once this is saved, I should be able to run the actions, and so I did hear that go off on one of the other echoes. It didn't go off on this one here for some reason, but it did go off on the office, so that's okay. I can live with that. I will fine tune that later. In at number 3, I want to change the volume of my Echo Dot based on the time of day, because I don't want Alexa screaming at me in the office during the day. Now, I did find a blueprint that lets me do just that, but let's set it up manually. Again, this requires the Alexa Media integration to be installed. I'm going to click Add Automation, start with an empty automation, and I'm going to use the trigger type of time. I'm going to set a fixed time at 7 a.m. So we're going to call a service, and I'm going to search for volume. So we're going to go for media underscore player set volume. So I'm going to set the volume, and our target, I'm going to pick the entity of office Echo Dot. And the level that I'm going to set here is 0.5. So I want that at around 50%. And I'm going to have that happen at 7 a.m. every day. It's going to set that. So we can save that. And if I run that now, it's just going to set the volume of that Echo Dot to 50%. In at number 2, I want an announcement when someone rings the doorbell, and I also want to flash a light on and off in case I've got my headphones on and I can't hear the doorbell. Again, I'm in my production instance here, and I'm going to go to configuration and then automations. I'm going to click Add Automation, start with an empty automation, and I'm going to go announce on doorbell. So our trigger type is going to be state. Our entity is going to be button. Our binary sensor button is the doorbell. We'll go on. So we're going to call our service. We're going to use notify.alexa media. And again, with our targets, we're going to paste those 3 targets in there. Our message is someone is at the door. And our data is type announce. So there's that. Now I'm also going to flash a light on and off as well. So I'm going to call a service. I'm going to go light.toggle because if the light's already on, I want it to turn off, and vice versa. If the light is already off, I want to turn it on. So I'm going to go pick an entity. Let's just go with the dining room lights. I won't worry about a transition or any of that kind of stuff. We'll add another action. I'm going to put in a delay of, let's call it 500 milliseconds. I'm going to add another action and we'll go call service light.toggle and pick entity, and again with the dining room lights, and we won't worry about changing any of those. We could add more delays and more toggles if we like, but we'll just hit save. So now we have an announcement and the lights are going to flick on and off when we run these actions. And so the lights flicked on and off, or off and on. And I've just heard the notification in the office there. And lastly, in at number 1 for beginner automations revisited, and honestly I have no idea why I counted backwards. I'm going to use a blueprint to turn a light on if I open a door after sunset, and we did something similar in the previous video about 10 beginner automations using presence detection after sunset. So this one is pretty easy to do manually, but I did find a blueprint for it, so there's no reason to put in the extra effort of doing it manually. So we'll head back to our demo instance, we'll go to blueprints, we'll go discover more blueprints, and I'm going to go sunset, and we want light on when door opened after sunset. I'll grab the URL, import the blueprint, paste that there, preview the blueprint, import the blueprint, and we've got door sensor activated light on when door opened after sunset. We'll create the automation. So turn on a light when the door is opened. We will select the door sensor. So let's go with the garage internal door. We'll pick the entity. We'll select the garage light. And we've got wait time to leave the light on after the door is closed. With the garage, I kind of want that to be a fair bit more. So I'm going to put that at 3600 or so, 1 hour. So we'll just hit save on that. That's then going to turn the light on if the door sensor detects it opens, and then keep it on for an hour after it closes. So that's my revisited 10 automations for beginners. If you're just getting started creating automations for your Home Assistant instance, I absolutely recommend that you check out the Blueprints Exchange on the community forum. You might just save yourself a headache of trying to figure out exactly how to set up a seemingly simple but deceptively complicated automation. I also really recommend using automation helpers wherever possible too. Get started with using helpers as soon as you can, because I can guarantee you they make a huge difference to the way that you automate your home. If you want more information about them, check out my video on using variables in automations, and the link is in the video description down below. That is all we have for this video, and I do hope that it helped you in your home automation journey. Be sure to comment down below with home automation ideas that you'd like to see in a future video, and let me know your favorite automation. Don't forget to follow HiveMind Automation on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button down below. If you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so now, and make sure you hit the bell icon as well while you're doing it to get notified when I release new videos each week. Lastly, if you like what I'm doing here and you want to help to support the channel, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description down below. Contributions through Buy Me a Coffee are put towards making more and better content for you to enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Stu from HiveMind Automation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.